Well, welcome to Crossroads. We're going to wait a couple of seconds or so to ensure everybody gets a chance to get in before I get started. So just hang with us here as we wait a little bit. Okay, welcome. Good evening. Welcome to Crossroads Career Network Seminar. Thursday seminar, as you probably know, because it is Thursday night already. Crossroads is happy to put these on. We do a lot of great things online for free, and you'll find what's available from Crossroads on our website. So please check that out. And I'm going to go over that at the end of the meeting. But thank you again for being here tonight. My name is Tom Jacobson. I lead the group out of Woodbury of Crossroads, and when we're meeting in person, that's where I usually am at, and I'll go over where we meet and all that a little bit later, as I stated. So there are 3 sites of Crossroads in the Twin Cities. So and for the people who are in transition, we provide a great transition ministry and other things. So again, look forward to hearing more about that at the end. Let me quickly share with you tonight our format. I'm going to do this brief introduction here, and then I'm going to turn it over and play a video for you, an I Am Second video. And then our speaker will come on, Dale Henry, and he'll be on at 7:15. And he'll go till 8:15, 8:25. And then at the end, I'll do a brief introduction to Crossroads in the seminar, just to give you a quick overview with slides. So again, welcome. I'm going to start off quickly with a Bible verse in the book of Romans 3, or chapter 5, verses 3 through 5. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that sufferings produce endurance, and endurance produces hope. Hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us. So hope is a great thing in transition. We need hope in order to be successful. It makes a big difference in what we do and how we do it. Hope is better for a career, is better for creating career opportunities. I'm having a little twisted tongue tonight. The hope of meeting great people and working with great people. The hope of filling us with individual happiness. All these hopes we can get through just being vigilant and working through God. Get yourself right spiritually and fill yourself with hope and gratitude and serve others, and it will impact your life greatly. Fill yourself with hope so you can go forward and find what you are passionate about in life. Job search is tough enough, but with hope, it can be very successful. God gives us great advice in scriptures, so do what you can to read it and study it and work with it. And work with him in prayer. Let me quickly open with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together to share tonight and to grow. Thank you for bringing us a great speaker in Dale Henry, who will share his wisdom with us about what it is we need in a career. Give us strength and happiness so that we might go out and find the career opportunities that we desire. Energize us each day so that we may be filled with your love, your Holy Spirit, and so we can search diligently each day for the career opportunities we desire. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to, I want to introduce quickly a video and an I Am Second video, and it's from a person named Nick, and Nick's going to share his story with us regarding his journey and his personal story. So at this time, we'll play the video from Nick.
I love my life. As you can see, I have no arms and no legs. And it's not like one day I went to school and then kids teased me and told me that I had no arms, no legs. I knew I had no arms and legs, but I didn't think it was such a big deal until the world told me that I was an alien, that I was ugly, that I wasn't good enough. And when the doctors saw me for the first time, they apologized to my parents that they did not pick it up in the ultrasounds and give them an option to abort me. They were absolutely convinced that I'd never have a quality of life. I didn't want to be special. I just wanted to be valued. I wanted to know that I wasn't a mistake. I wanted to know that in Jeremiah 29:11, how God says he has a plan, hope, and future. I wanted that assurance that he didn't forget me. Many of us secretly struggle. I know I did. When I was 8 years old, I went into a very dark place. A depression that lasted 5 years. And that depression peaked during an attempted suicide of me trying to swallow water and then inhale water to drown myself in the bathtub of my own home. I convinced myself there was no hope. I convinced myself that there was no God, but if there was a God, he was simply unfair. I prayed for a miracle, and a miracle did not come. At age 13, something interesting happened. I hurt my little foot. My foot allows me to walk. And all of a sudden, I'm a limbless man who used to walk, who now can't. And I realized I gotta be thankful for what I have instead of being angry for what I don't have. But I realized pretty quickly that God held me. Even when I hated him, screamed at him, and refused to talk to him, he loved me. At age 15, I read John chapter 9, a man was born blind, and no one knew why he was born that way. But Jesus said it was done so that the works of God would be revealed through him. And I realized, if God has a plan for a blind man, God's got a plan for me. It was the janitor at my high school who saw me speak in front of my school peers as the vice president. Little did I know that I would be approached by the person cleaning the toilets at my school and look at me straight in the eyes and saying, "I heard you talk." I said, "Oh, cool." He said, "It was better than cool. You're going to be a worldwide speaker." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "You're going to go around the world and speak." And I said, "No way. You're crazy. What am I going to talk about?" "Your story." I'm like, "I don't have a story." He said, "Yes, you do." We had an arm wrestle about it. And a couple months later, he organized my first speech. And during that first speech, people were crying, thinking, what's going on? But little did I know that God could use me to talk about something I thought I never had. Hope. I could very well be someone that maybe one day shares my story with more people. And maybe when I don't get a miracle, I can still be one. Well, I'll tell you right now, I have a pair of shoes in my closet in case God gives me arms and legs. But I've realized two things. Number one, the greatest miracle of all that I'll ever receive in my life is my soul being saved, me being filled with the Holy Spirit, having a relationship with Jesus where I abide in him and he abides in me, him being my comfort, my strength, giving me guidance and wisdom throughout my life. Anything more than my salvation is just a bonus. Well, he gave me a couple more bonuses. A wife, a beautiful wife. She's amazing. 4 kids, beautiful kids. They're amazing. God has rescued me and blessed me. But the second thing I've realized miraculously, he delights in using the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. And I never imagined that God would take me to 78 countries, 3,500 speeches, 9.7 million people face to face, 1.2 million people gave their life to Jesus Christ. Largest crowd, 800,000 people, 10 different governments I was able to address, and I've been on television to 2.8 billion people. People see me without arms and legs, but I don't represent limbless people. I represent healed, broken-hearted people. To let the broken-hearted know that you can be healed and you can be a miracle too. You know, I tell people if God can use a man without arms and legs to be his hands and feet, then God can use any willing heart. We don't dream big enough. We look at our circumstances. We're not here to survive, we're here to thrive. And we're not here just to be saved and be blessed. You've been called according to his purposes. Maybe you've been sexually abused. Maybe you've had an abortion. Maybe you were fatherless. Maybe your husband has died. Maybe your wife has left you. Whatever your brokenness is, know that God has not left you. He'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. When you call upon him, he's there. He loves you, and you're not alone. Do not ever underestimate what God can do with your broken pieces. He could do something beautiful with you too. If you trust him, obey, hunger and thirst after his plan. Share your story with someone that you love. You can tell them all about how Jesus set you free and how you know him and he knows you, and it's changed everything for you. The whole I am second thread is amazing. God is number one. So act like it, live like it, and remember when you're saved and blessed to help someone else in need.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nick. That was a great story. Boy, what an amazing and inspiring story that was. We sure do appreciate that I Am Second video series. It provides us with a lot of great content and inspiration. So if you are interested, I would recommend you go out to the website. There's a second part to that video that talks about going out there and really getting yourself up to speed, as it were, through that website. So in faith and enjoying the gifts that God presents us with. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our main speaker for the evening. His name is Dale Henry, and I've known Dale for a number of years and have gone to a number of Dale's workshops and enjoyed actually some one-on-one coaching with Dale. Dale is a inspirational leader and coach, and he really does a great job at getting at the heart of what it takes for you to become a superhero. And that's one of his lines of work, creating superheroes out of ordinary people, which hopefully he can inspire us tonight, become superheroes. So Dale, I'm going to let you tell the rest of your story and also introduce your topic and tell them how they can interact during this presentation.
I'm going to have to fix that or cover up. Hey, everybody. A couple things. First of all, I didn't know we were going to show that video. I had the blessing and good fortune of meeting Nick in person 11 or 12 years ago. And one of the things that I thought was so amazing about his story, and I know when I was young, I was a competitive swimmer. And as I grew up, I kind of did all this stuff around the water of, you know, Red Cross instruction and life saving and all that kind of stuff. And I was absolutely shocked when Nick told me one of his favorite activities was swimming. I thought, what? And he said, you know, one of the things that most people don't even think about, which of course I hadn't thought about either, was he said, because I don't have any arms and legs, I can hold my breath for something like 15 or 20 minutes. So he says, you know, he just gets to have a great time. And oh yeah, every once in a while he needs to come turn over and breathe. But I just thought it was amazing. I love Nick, and I was excited that he was here tonight. Couple things starting out up front. We're going to get into this, and pretty quickly there's going to be some interaction. And I forgot that when they do the webinar version, I can't see the people and we can't interact. You can't come off mute and that kind of stuff as easily. So I'm gonna ask you, we're gonna do an exercise in just a couple minutes that, yeah, we want you to interact with on the chat. We need you to interact or we're gonna have to fake answers. So please be involved. The other thing is, if you want to take notes today, I encourage you not to take notes on what I say or what's on the slides. That's all going to be available to you very quickly. I know Harry gets these, the recordings up on their YouTube channel very quickly. And he said it should be there tomorrow morning. But so don't waste time trying to do that. Unless you want to take some screen capture, I'll try to be good about telling you which of the slides with some of the exercises we do later on or we present later on. You might want to grab those for your own personal use. But today is kind of tonight's going to be kind of about taking you on a journey. I expect that your attention's going to come and go. I encourage you to let your mind wander and think about different things that come up that hit you along the way. I don't expect to have 100% of your attention. I know that's how this works, but I want you to feel free. If there's something that's said that really strikes you, hang on to that thought and think about it. The recording for any of the other content and stuff will always be out there. If you think that's valuable, you want to go get it, that will be there. But I want you to really, hopefully you can really kind of get just lost in the content and thinking, because I really want you to think about your thinking. And if anything that we talked through tonight is something that adds value and helps you or can change how you think about the whole idea of job transition, I want you to focus there. You know, you'll see a number of different exercises that are designed intentionally for people with different personalities, different values, different beliefs. You'll experience them differently. So just want to let you know up front, so some of it's going to connect with this, some of it probably won't. And if it doesn't connect, it's probably because it's designed for somebody else. So don't worry about that at all. So with that, I got to figure out how to get my screen share working. Don't worry, I'll get it figured out. And I've been doing these video conferences and everything since before Zoom even existed, and yet I still can struggle with technology. So the whole topic tonight is really not about kind of the typical job transition content, how to answer questions, you know, those kinds of interviews, how to do the networking, all that kind of stuff. You guys know Harry and Tom and the whole program, they do a great job covering those kinds of things. So tonight is really about those people that are looking for more. You want that perfect job. You want meaningful work, not just paying the bills, meaningful, interesting, enjoyable work. Not just another job, but get that job that at least for now is the perfect job for you. So with that, my mouse isn't working, so I'm going to have to figure out that real quick. Now, you know, most of you, probably all of you, want to find a job. Get a job, get the income working again, getting the finances working, not freaking out about that anymore. Some of you, though, want to find a good job. A few of you want to find a job that you love. But as you'll see, and we're going to talk through it a bunch, I want to help all of you find that good job that you love and that you'll be incredibly successful in, however you define success. And we're going to talk through helping you get clear around that. And I want you to enjoy the time spent finding that job. I know a lot of you right now, oh, I guess I better tell you. So what we're going to discuss, we're actually going to talk about first, about how do you ensure that you're incredibly successful in your next job. We're going to start there, kind of what Tom hinted about with the superhero, superpowers, all that kind of stuff. We're going to take you from strengths really beyond that. My background, if people know, I have a lot of work that I do in strength-based performance, and that's kind of one of my things. So we're going to hit you with that right up front. Then we're going to give you a few different exercises to identify and describe what is that exact role that you're looking for. And I work with a lot of people in job transition, not officially through the work with Crossroads Career Network, that their programs or small groups, that's not part of what I do, but I work with a lot of people in job transition. And the classic thing I run into is people that I want to help that can't answer the question what they're actually looking for. And if they don't know what they're looking for or who they want to get connected to or whatever, there's no way, or it's really difficult for other people to help you in your job transition. So first of all, being able to describe clearly what you're looking for and why. But I come back around and say, if you don't know what you're looking for, how can you possibly think you're going to find it? How will you even recognize it? And, you know, I'm old enough now. I'm tired of people trying to talk themselves into an opportunity out there is exactly what they're looking for. I want you to do the absolute opposite of that. And then we're going to cover just a real basic, quick action plan. And again, what I think you'll use is the first two parts we talk about, you'll probably use with the program that Crossroads has for helping you do the tactical activities of finding the job. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Again, you'll experience this. This isn't your typical, here, now we're on step one, and then we're on step two. We're just kind of wander along on this journey as we go tonight. So again, let's all come together. A lot of us feel lost in job transition. It's not where we normally are, and we feel uncomfortable about it. We're not in our safe place, our comfortable place. But just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean it's bad. I want you to think about that for a second. It's just different. It's not bad. So if we want to go, and the whole premise tonight is I'm going to assume you want to find a great job that you'll love, you'll enjoy, and you'll be incredibly successful in. That's my assumption. But to accomplish that, we must first expect it of ourselves. You know, Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about in The Power of Intention is the first step in accomplishing anything is that expecting it of ourselves. If we don't expect to do anything, we'll come up with 1,000 different reasons. We'll even sabotage our own success to prove that we shouldn't have been able to or couldn't have achieved something. So to start changing that mindset, here's the exercise that we're going to have to jump on the chat. Tom said that he'll moderate the chat for me because I'm a guy, so I can do up to one thing at a time. That's kind of our capacity. Unfortunately, as guys, we rarely hit our capacity, so we're accomplishing less than one thing at a time. So Tom's going to help me with that. But, you know, the big challenge of finding, you know, we've all heard the analogy of trying to find a needle in a haystack. The assumption is that's impossible, or that's so hard to do, we wouldn't even attempt to do it. It would be ridiculous to try. And finding a needle in a haystack is often an analogy people use when they think about trying to find the perfect job or a great job, a wonderful job that checks all the boxes, that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do now is we are going to actually find the needle in the haystack. How are we going to do that? We have to think about if we're going to find the needle, we have to think about the characteristics, that's a big long word for me, the characteristics that needles have that hay doesn't, and vice versa. So in the chat, you know, Tom's going to help me out here. So in the chat, throw out ideas, and this is the classic brainstorming thing, don't worry, because we've got to get some of these ideas out here before we're going to get to the answer, is what characteristics, I'm going to have to practice saying that word, what characteristics do needles have that hay doesn't, or vice versa? You know, one's a plant, one's not a plant, so.
Hard versus soft.
Hard versus soft.
One bends, one doesn't. Material, stiffness, color, size. Metal versus natural.
Wow, you guys are good.
Sharpness versus dullness. sharp edge, both
I've done this a whole
useful.
bunch, and you guys are giving me like 50% more examples of what things can be. So that's great.
Magnetic versus non-magnetic. Hay floats, metal doesn't. Man-made versus God-made.
Ooh, I like that one.
Oh, doesn't a needle float on water too?
No, not the metal one that we're setting the rules of the game by.
Okay, there we go.
What else? Anything else?
It's slowed down now.
Think about what we could do to the hay and the needle that would help us find the needle. And you can, by the way, you can throw out examples of possible solutions too, if you want.
Okay, so they have different purposes. Yellow versus gray, still coming up with characteristics here.
Yep.
Burn the hay to find the needle in the ash.
Yep. That's one of them, because hay, but you can burn the hay. The typical one, or the first one that I came up with, was burn the hay and then use a magnet to find through the ash to find the needle.
Well, that was this next one, was utilize magnets to find the needle.
Yep.
Aha, love that, someone said. Bundle the hay. Let's see.
Yeah, so I've heard the solutions I've heard is the idea that hay floats, at least for a while. Needles don't, so you could throw all the, however big the haystack is, into water, and the needle should sink. You might be able to use the fact that needles being metal could be reflective, and you could use some form of light. Again, I've heard burn, and then either burn or sift the ash. We're make assumptions about what hay ash actually looks like. I don't know. But the point of this is we started out with
Was that a pun? Sorry.
What's that?
Sounded like a pun, Dale. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I mean, it's such a natural thing. I don't even notice some of these things. So, but the point is, there's a method to solve almost every problem or to answer every question. When we think about the needle in the haystack, most people are like, boy, that sounds like tough. I'm going to go move on, do something else. But the analogy we want to use is to find the job, the perfect job for us, that great job that's going to leverage our strengths, we're going to be really good at, we're going to enjoy, it's going to be in the right environment. We have to find out, we have to come up with a description of what that is. So I'm going to challenge you in your job search to be, I'm fumbling tonight. Sorry about that. Be much more intentional in your job search. Don't just do what everybody else does. And that all starts by, what are your personal success criteria for your job search? And I simply propose it and say, okay, what should the success criteria be based on? What other decisions, what are the other important decisions in our life? Like finding a spouse or a house or getting rid of a mouse. Sorry, little Dr. Seuss. I wouldn't say humor, I just attempted humor. But, the big things like finding a spouse or buying a house, or I don't know, vacation or car, those might not be as high as your job or your career, but speed isn't usually the number one thing. I mean, we don't come up, I want to get married, so who can I convince to be my spouse as soon as possible? I don't care anything about them. I just want them to be my spouse because I want to check that box. That's not the way we go about that. And I challenge us, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of time in job transition in the future, to find a really great job that really plays to your strengths, that you really enjoy, that makes the impact that you want to make, so that you don't have to keep doing this over and over and over again. So, I mean, part of the analogy again here, the storyline here is when we're making money, people have no time. They're busy, they're crazy busy. And so much of the time, since we were focused on money, we're unfulfilled, we're feeling controlled by others, frustrated, overworked, unappreciated, keep filling out that list. But then we lose the job. And for so many people, we're stressing out over not having income, and I get that. But one of the things, if you think back 8 years ago to this day, how much money did you have? How much money you were making? I bet you don't know. So the money that we think is so important right now, that stuff always works itself out over time. I've seen it over and over and over again. I'm sure Tom and Harry have seen exactly the same thing. We freak out about the thing we don't have. And yet what we have right now is we have the gift of time. We can think about what we're going to do in the future to contribute, to create value, to get rewarded for that value now in such a way that we couldn't when we had a job. So I encourage you to stop focusing on the short-term problem of, yep, there's no money coming in, or there's, less money coming in, depending upon what your situation is. But instead, focus on your opportunity. You now have an opportunity like never before, because you're at the best time and place right now to find meaningful, enjoyable work going forward. But before we do that, that was kind of a mean setup, I guess. I want to go to, I always do this. I want to cover the strength-based stuff because I kind of laugh because I do this up front just to make sure, in case I die partway through the program, at least you got the good stuff and you don't have to worry about that. But so we're going to help you be incredibly successful in your job. And it's going to be based on one simple principle that I've seen over and over and over again. I'm old enough to say I've seen a lot of it, is the number one thing about a performance in a job is that we leverage our greatest strengths in the most valuable way the vast majority of the time, or as much and as often as possible. And when there's only one, when I have the chance of only providing one piece of information, one nugget of insight, or whatever you want to call it, for whatever it's worth, this is the silver bullet, the golden nugget, whatever it is. Now, it's incumbent on us, though. I mean, so much of us say, well, I find the job and the job doesn't play to my strengths. I know something like 80 to 90% of people say they don't ever play to their strengths in their daily work. Well, did you get forced into that job? Let's be real. We selected that job. We volunteered for that job. We didn't get forced into it. And I want to encourage you to do just the opposite of finding opportunities and then deciding on what best fits you. I want you to turn that around and start leveraging this principle. You're going to start asking in interviews, talking about what's the most important aspect of the job. Here's what I do really well. How is that going to play? How is that going to help? Don't try to just pass the interview. You're going to want to get really good information on, if this is the way I behave and this is my strengths, am I going to do well in this job? Are you going to like me? Are you going to glad I joined the team, or is it going to be a struggle? Because we don't want it to be one-sided. We want to change our mindset. Now, it isn't rocket science that when we leverage our strengths in the most valuable way, it's productive, because you just look at the economic value of what we provide. It's the value of the work times how well we do it times how much we do it. So how often do we do it, or how long do we do it? And I spend a lot of time working with companies adjusting jobs to the people that they have. Because what I've seen over and over and over again, that when people play to their strengths, they do it very infrequently and not for very long, because they're so good. They check the box, they get that work done, and they have to go do some other part of their job that they aren't very good at. When I connected with Gallup, 30 years ago now, about high productive, highly engaged teams, one of the issues was when you looked at how much time people spent at what they were good at, it was a tiny fraction of their work, because they spent way more time on the things that they weren't good at because they weren't good at it. And the simple principle that I started promoting is, let's just change the job, not try to change the person. Give the work that they're not very good at, that's part of their job description, simply give that to somebody else who's really good at it. And it's kind of that win-win-win situation. The other person likes to do that job, that work gets done really well, and the other person gets time to go do what they do well. There isn't any law that says you have to do exactly what a job description says. So, and apart with this, I mean, the key part is the value of the work, or the potential value of the work, is constant. So if I'm going to be a salesperson, the value, how much I can sell, well, there's probably, well, theoretically, at least there's a maximum amount. The best salesperson is going to sell a certain amount. But how good I am at that job, I'm not a very good salesperson. You're not going to get very good results. And how often I do it, I'm probably going to have to do it a long time, but I'm doing it not very well. So we're not getting good results. But you've taken up that role. You hired me as a salesperson, so you can't hire somebody else in that same role. So this is a huge thing that I work with management about. But for us on our side, the question is, in the job that I have or the job that I'm looking for, am I going to be spending most of my time most valuably using and growing? We want to continue to get better at the things that we're best at. I spent the first half of my career kind of being the bridger, the filler. I was like average at a whole bunch of things. So I'd run around helping people or be called in to help people. And I'd do an average job at something they were bad at. Now, the results were still incrementally better, but they weren't great because I wasn't great at it. I just was dumb enough to be willing to run around and do all these other different things. When I stopped being a utility player, my whole career changed. But the challenge for us is the answer to that is no. What can I do to ensure that I am? And the answer to this question right now is where you are. You're at the spot where you can now use this as part of your interview process. And by the way, when you do this, you're going to stand out because everybody else is just trying to pass the interview. And you're like, wait, let's get this straight. Before I come join your team, let's talk about this, because this is the way I'm going to do the job. Here's the part of it that I'm going to do really well. And here's the part that candidly I'm not going to do well. How's that going to play out? So you now have the opportunity to take control of your life. Because the fact is, our strengths, the giftedness we have, plus our training, our knowledge, our skill that we develop, fuel our performance, define our potential, unleash our passions, and fulfill our purpose, or as we talk about around the job, about meaningful, impactful work. It's our strengths that help us stand out, make a difference, and ultimately feel incredible. So for those of us in job transition, our understanding our strengths is pretty darn important. Now, a challenge question for you, and this is probably good that we don't have interaction, but how much better are you really at what you do than you were a year ago, or 2 years, or dare I even say 5 years ago? Because I meet a lot of people that aren't growing. All they're doing is coasting. I got this formal degree. I went through this training program. I did whatever. And now I'm just out there doing what I do. I am who I am. And they don't realize how much they're missing. God gave us the ability to grow, the ability to learn, the whole concept of potential so many people struggle with. And the way when I do the coaching that I do, I simply define it as how far could we go? How good could we get if we intentionally, and then it's fill in the blank. How good of a chef could I become if I spent 2 hours a week learning just about spice? Just come up with a much better example. I'm a terrible cook. Everybody around me is really good cooks in my family, but I'm not. So, but how much better could we be at something if we got that degree, if we got that book and studied it like it was a class, if, whatever it is, whatever the answer is to that plan. The description of our potential is potentially how far could we go if we just were willing to pay the price, whatever that price is. How good could we get? What could we accomplish, or who could we become? Who could we become known as? Tom talked about, for a while I was known as the superpowers guy or the superheroes guy or whatever. And because I got obsessively focused and got really, really knowledgeable about strength-based performance and what that whole concept meant, and took it far beyond, honestly, wherever Gallup, who I was working with earlier on or years ago, gone so far beyond that. And I'll warn you around potential, be careful to challenge possible plans, possible ideas of what you could do, and say, it's cost too much or it's going to take too long. How much it costs, how long it takes, are valid questions, but I will tell you they are terrible first questions, because you usually are much better at estimating the cost than you are the value. So you will consistently not take action because you think it'll be too expensive. And we've all heard the stories of people later in their life that said the things that they didn't do were the things they regret the most. And people rarely look back and go, man, when I made that investment, I took the time to go learn that. It's just, oh, well, that was a waste. I just threw that time away. That just doesn't happen. That's not the way it works. So regarding your potential, I encourage you to just imagine in those areas that you care about, not in all the other stuff that we're bad at. I'm bad at a billion things. I'm good at just a few things, but I've learned to focus on those things and position those things in a valuable way. So to finally wrap up this piece, to kind of align with what Tom was mentioning at the beginning, your potential greatest strengths, and again, I'm saying all this because it's around when we're out there putting our bios, our profiles, our resumes together, the most important thing we need to communicate is what we're really good at. So in my world, we playfully call our greatest strengths, our most valuable strengths, real world superpowers. Because I have a program where I basically help you identify your strengths and then transform them into what, as I, again, playfully call real world superpowers, because we'll transform them because they will feel and perform like superpowers. And I will challenge anybody to say, is there any real difference between having real world superpowers and having what feel and perform like real world superpowers? So what's the definition of a real world superpower? Because I always go, oh, that's a very abstract idea. Let's go from an abstract idea to a concrete description or definition so that it's actionable. So here's the definition or the description of a real world superpower. It's consistent, exceptional performance in a highly valuable activity performed as only we can, which requires relatively little effort, is naturally intrinsically rewarding, and energizes us. Now, people kid me a lot about my odd use of color in my presentations and how they don't match any branding or, well, actually these are brand colors, but branding, I don't have my branding all over everything. No, that's not my intent. I'm not promoting my branding. But in this case, my use of color is very intentional. The orange part, the first half of that description of a real world superpower, that's the external nature of the power. That's what we do. It's our behavior. It's what people see us do. Now, that determines or defines our highest, most distinctive value. Or you can think of it as our greatest personal strategic advantage, our most valuable contribution to society. You know, there's a number of different ways to think. This is the thing that we're best at that's most important. If I got really good at juggling, but all I ever did was juggle in my backyard, no big deal. It doesn't make any difference. Highly valuable. I might be exceptional, but if nobody ever sees me, nobody's entertained. You know, if I do it for birthday parties and get good enough to do it at birthday parties, make a little money, maybe I get some cupcakes or cake out of the deal or whatever. If I get so good at juggling that I have a show in Las Vegas, that's a different deal. So the first part, consistent, exceptional performance in a highly valuable activity performed as only we can. That's the first half. That's the external part of a superpower. The internal part is the blue words. Takes relatively little effort, or it comes easy to us. Just doing the activity is naturally and intrinsically rewarding, and it energizes us. You know, I talk about it, yeah, it might be physically tiring or sometimes even mentally tiring, but it actually creates more energy. We get more excited than the amount of energy it takes. Because this is the internal part, it's how we feel. You know, and you can read through the list here, but it boosts our confidence, raises our self-image. Who doesn't want to do that? We want to do something we're good at, that people appreciate, that are valuable. Of course, our confidence is going to go up. Our self-image is going to go up. It brings us joy, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose. You know, I work with, and I'm sure Tom and Harry work with a lot of people that are at the point in their life where they go, I want meaningful work. Yeah, I figured the financial thing out. And of course, yes, I still need to make money, but I'm not here just to make money. I'm not here to just continue up the ladder or corporate ladder, or, you know, get the title and all that kind of stuff. I'm about a sense of fulfillment. Also, it's going to reduce stress, worry, frustration, anxiety. I'm going to love, we're going to get to a slide that I'll kind of go obsess about in a few minutes. But it really brings the whole thing together. But I want to challenge people, especially for those that are still working on your profiles and resumes and bios and that kind of stuff. Can you answer the question of what's your single highest, most distinctive value? The things you can do in a way that nobody else can do. You want to find the job or define the job that you're the only, or you're such the obvious candidate for, that they're not going to look for anybody else. Now, you say they don't exist. I'll tell you 100 stories of people that have created their own job description, gone into a company, and they've created the job for them. It's not impossible, but it is that needle in a haystack. People won't even try to do it because they don't believe it works. Now, when this is done right, your work is going to feel like play. I used to be a fairly serious amateur soccer player. I never played pro, but I played the highest level. I played highest amateur level, premier amateur league, whatever. I can't say this right, but I got all the injuries, but no money from playing soccer. But I really loved it. For a while, I played with my daughters. It was in an after school thing, and we used to play like 40 kids on 3 parents, and we'd win all the time if we wanted to. And it's the idea, you're so much better than everybody else at it. Your work literally feels like play. Now, I kind of laugh with this image. Only in Minnesota do we think throwing ice balls at our loved ones is actually fun. But at least the picture, both people are smiling. Even the guy that's about to get nailed in the back of the head with an ice ball or a snowball is still smiling. So work will feel like play. A lot of you, I know, don't believe that because, again, you haven't been in that situation yet, but we're going to get you there if you're willing to do the work. Because I like to say, as this slide says, it's not just athletes and musicians that get paid to play. It's anybody that really understands what you're good at or can become so good at. That's a huge piece. It's not just where you are now, but where you could. Remember that potential slide. What could you do? How could you get so good at these things, at whatever these things are? You know, I had a coaching client who basically got himself into some bad financial situations. He needed to recover, need to redefine his career. He decided he was going to do it through software. He wasn't in the software IT industry at all. He said, I know exactly what you need to do. At the time, big data was just starting up. And I said, Charlie, just get understanding big data. The key thing I knew, because I ran IT consulting companies, is just jump into the newest technology, because nobody knows anything about it, or not very many people know. They need thousands of people, and 4 people know what's going on. So that's what he did. Long story short, and I think it was 2.5 years, he had a 6-figure income. He's since taken that, and he's now like one of the premier big data consultants in a consulting company that's all about big data. And it was all because he simply learned high value, specific knowledge and skills that were highly valuable, that were very scarce. All of us can do this. Now, okay, put that aside. Now we're going to say, okay, assuming we get that part figured out, now we're going to combine that with work that is both meaningful and enjoyable. And most of our rest of our conversation is going to be around what that is. How does that work? How does it play? What are we really thinking about? But when that's done right, when we leverage our strengths, our greatest strengths in the most valuable way in a work, in a job that's both meaningful and enjoyable, our work feels like an effortless artistic performance. I mean, think about when, you know, great musicians come out on stage. Are they stressing out? Are they hoping they pull it off? Are they worried that you're thinking this concert might not be as good as the next concert or one that you saw last week or last year or whatever? No. the musician's coming out, he's joking with the stage hand, you know, they're talking about what they're going to do after the concert. They walk out, you know, strap on their guitar, joking with each other, and then they just sit down and amaze us. They are completely relaxed, totally confident, fully absorbed and joyfully immersed in their craft. And I will tell you, Shawn Achor, if you've heard of him, he talks a lot about happiness and fulfillment in work. And he says that and he's all about the human mind and all the statistics and all that kind of stuff. He says, when the human mind is absorbed in a task, if we're fully absorbed in doing anything, even if it's like cleaning the garage, if we're fully absorbed in an activity, it's known to be one of those times where we're happiest, or most joyful, comfortable. That whole thing is we're at peace when we're immersed in something, when you're absorbed. And I mean, imagine getting so good at what you do that you feel that way. You're like, bring it on, one hand tied behind my back, whatever it is, no problem. I can do this. I'm so much better than I need to be that this is going to be fine. And in our job, I do a lot of work around performance management. And I love to talk about thinking about your job as a performance, because you're performing for your boss, you're performing for your clients, you're performing whoever the internal user or consumer is of your work, you're performing. But think of performing without a care in the world. You are so sure that you can pull it off, you can handle what's in front of you, that it's no big deal. You know, it's like, okay, I can do 10 other things, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. This is where you can get if you're willing to do the work we're going to talk through today. So now let's convert that abstract, find good work that you really enjoy and, you know, you're really good at. Let's make it actionable. So we're going to take what we're good at, what we enjoy doing, and what we're going to be successful at, and we're going to restructure that slightly to say that's meaningful work that leverages their strengths, and hopefully you'll go to the point where it's what I describe as your highest, most distinctive value. That's how to find that middle place. But it becomes, you know, as Zig Ziglar says here, it's a stop being a wandering generality. Quit looking for jobs that you can do, or I could do that part or that part, and I'll try to minimize this part or whatever. No. Become a meaningful specific. This is what I do. You know, I talk about when I work with both companies and individuals, I do two things. I develop great leaders of great teams throughout management teams to create incredible companies. So I create companies that go from good to great. And I do that by training leaders in leadership and how to lead high-performing, highly engaged teams. That's what I do. Fortunately for me, it's pretty valuable, but that's what I do. That's the one thing I do. For individuals, and Tom mentioned, he got it exactly right. I help ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. And through that, they live incredible lives. But the idea is I take average, ordinary people like me, like you, and say, no, we're not going to focus on being average. We're just going to focus on the stuff we're really good at. We're not going to beat ourselves up on the billions of things, as I say for me, that I'm not very good at. I'm going to focus on what I'm good at and figure out how to do that in a really valuable way for other people. So the idea of becoming a meaningful specific. So what do you really want? What do you really want from our work? And, you know, everybody, especially today, we're all unique. Nobody's like us. Well, the reality is 80% of us is just like everybody else. We have a 20%, 10%, 20%, whatever that's unique, special, but most of what we care about, what we want, is all the same as everybody else. And tip, stop telling me and stop telling other people what you don't like. The process of elimination is too slow a process or a method to find meaningful work. Going back to the needle in a haystack, process of elimination says we pull something out of the haystack and says, is that a needle? Nope. Is that a needle? Nope. Is that a needle? Nope. That's what so many people say. You know, I had this job, I really didn't like it. I don't ever want to do that work again. Okay, well, there's 7 zillion more jobs out there. We've eliminated one. It doesn't work. So what do you want? What do most people want? The three categories of things that people want from their work is we have a longing for significance, a desire to make a positive difference, and especially the younger generations, this is more their focus. They want to be known, they want to have a reputation, and ultimately remembered for something meaningful and worthwhile. The first thing is the significance of the work that we do. The second is we simply want to make money doing what we love. And these people, and these aren't mutually exclusive, and look, I cover a little bit more in a second, but the people who start here, I kind of love, because they say, I simply want to make money doing what I love. Now, what most of these people have figured out what they love doing, they just can't figure out how to make money doing it. And they somehow feel just because I'm good at it, somebody should pay me a whole bunch of money to do it. But then there's some people that say, I make money, I'm good at making money. Now I have to figure out how to love what I do to it. You know, what I do, I make a lot of money, I'm good at it, but I don't really like it. So you talk to these people, and it goes a little deeper, and I like where this ends up, so we're going to cover this just real quick. You talk to them for about 5-10 minutes, and what they really admit is what I really want is I simply want to make a lot of money doing only what I love, as often or if and when I feel like it, with and for the people I want, and experience little worry, stress, frustration, or hassle in the process. That's all I want. I simply want, and the question is that too much to ask? And I'll tell you the answer is no, but you got to get clear and you got to do the work to get that. Now, some people, by the way, if you can take a picture or a screenshot real quick, this is one of those things people want to go, what was that you said again? But simply want to make money doing what I love. A third group or third characteristic is they simply want the secret to earning the money they want while still having the time they need to live the life they truly desire. Because, you know, and it's not that it's a big bad thing that people want money and they want time. I think it's something like 96% of Americans say that their lifestyle is constrained by either the lack of time, lack of money, or both. They're not actually living the life they want to live, that they desire, because they haven't figured out how to make the money while still having the time they need to get what they want. So that's really what they want. So if you look at that, what it really says is what we care about is the impact or contribution of our work, enjoyment in our work, and the rewards from our work. That's what we care about. So let's look at that for a second. And this is the fourth, or maybe the first or the fifth exercise, depending. And this is one that you may think through, but it's a slightly different way. And I'll tell you when we're done with this. But so if we take those and ask 3 questions. Okay, first, how important is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Impact. For example, if I'm an accountant and I really like, I love my job, I love the challenge of doing the books and working the numbers, all that kind of stuff. Do I really care if I'm doing it for a retailer or a consulting company or a manufacturer? I maybe don't really care. So who am I impacting in the world? Am I helping people get electronic equipment a little cheaper? I don't care. Now, I probably don't want to do it for the mob, but it's not a real big deal. That's not something I personally care about. The enjoyment in my job, the rewards from my job, how important are each of those things? Some people go, if I'm saving children in some African country, I can't even come up with a country name. If I'm saving them, it's going to be hard work. I get it. I'm not gonna get paid well. I'm probably not going to enjoy the work, but I'm having a huge impact. I'm okay with that. Other people are like, no, I want to enjoy my work. Yeah, the impact, that'd be nice, but not really what I care about. And then rewards the same way. Some people say, I need to make money. I need to make a huge amount of money. Other people go, hey, I've been fortunate enough. I figured out my finances. I don't need to make $1 gazillion. I really want to enjoy my work. I want to enjoy the people I work with or whatever. So just on a scale of 1 to 10 or however you want to do it, it's not a stack ranking thing. It's not one is good and one is bad. It doesn't have to add to 100 or add to 10 or whatever. But how important are those aspects of your work? And then simply describe what that impact is, what that enjoyment is. The impact, who, what, or how do you want to make impact? In enjoyment, how you want to spend your time. Most of it, what are you doing? Who are you working with? Who are you working for? That kind of thing. What's enjoyment in your life? We're going to cover that in a lot more detail later. And then rewards. What rewards are you actually looking for? Do I need to make $80,000, but it would be nice to make 150? You know, do I not going to work any more than 40 hours, 30 hours, 150 hours? What are you looking for? You want some kind of fame or recognition or influence or any of that kind of stuff. Just describe what those things, those kind of abstract concepts mean to you personally. And then how far do you want to go? You know, I had the blessing of coaching. My daughter Ashley and I have coached and equipped, I think it's 475 women entrepreneurs over the last few years. And one of them was, she really wanted to provide opportunity for other women in her work. And we said, well, okay, so how many? You know, are you looking for 5, 50, 500? Because that number matters. You know, you can affect 5 women by simply hiring them into your business. If you're affecting 50, you have to go, okay, that's a big commitment if you're going to do it all through your business. If you're going to impact 500, you're going to have to be training them or doing something else. So it's a different way to get there based on how much you want to do. Now, how much enjoyment do you want to have in your, if I'm so excited, I can't think straight, that's too much fun. I don't know. But simply go through again and what does success or checking that off the list look like to you? So here's probably a good part if you're taking screenshots or want to take a picture or whatever. The key thing about this, though, is until you do that work, you have no clear description of what you want. And once you've done this version of this exercise, if you want to choose to do this way, you've now got a target that for the first time you can actually compare other opportunities against, something you can assess against. So now we're going to talk about really the 4 different ways, more specifically to answer that question, to identify and describe what you're looking for. And then again at the end, and we're going to zip through these fairly quickly, is, okay, so how do you actually go and actively find these things? So I talk about this like GPS with navigation. The change that those of us that are old enough to remember the old Hudson maps, I think they were called, and the big folding maps that we'd use to try to get around before GPS existed, and how often we would get lost and we had to jump from the edge of page 27 to the beginning of page 42. This method or these different exercises will help you clearly identify your purpose, your meaningful work, what meaningful, enjoyable work is to you, whatever that is, however you describe that. It works when you do this. And I say parts of these are adjusted based on personality types and your beliefs and your values, those kinds of things. So expect these things. They're basically all doing the same thing. They're addressing them from a slightly different perspective. So the first one is find your sweet spot. You know, we've all seen this diagram, but what we quickly run into is we want to find the work we're good at, we like, and is meaningful. But the problem is, they're like, look at that sweet spot, because it's drawn by an academic or someone. It's very precise, but you look at it and go, look, what, I got like a 1% chance, a 2% chance of actually finding that perfect overlap. That's like a needle in a haystack, right? Gee, that's the whole reason we did the needle in a haystack thing. But in the real world, what we like and are good at overlap a lot. You know, what we like but aren't very good at, that's called hobbies or recreation or something. But we like the things we're good at, and we don't like the things we're bad at. That's simply human nature. But when we realize that, when we look and say, oh, now we just bring in that meaningful work, that sweet spot's a lot bigger. And then again, for any of you that have gone through the Activate Your Real World Superpowers program, you'll probably recognize this. That sweet spot gets a lot bigger because you're able to adjust and develop and position your strengths in such a way that matches work that's meaningful for you. That's simply how it works. So what it comes down to in step 1 is all we got to do is identify meaningful work, and the rest of it's a done deal. So how do you do that? And I'm just going to bounce through these questions really super fast. I'm going to show them up there. is answer some of these questions. And again, you might want to take a shot of this, so there's going to be one more edition here, but what moves you emotionally? What uplifts you? What do you care deeply about? You know, what excites you? What doesn't? What energizes you? Where do you spend your spare time? You know, the question I like is, where do you feel most comfortable or at home? I do most of my coaching and equipping in small groups, 10 to 15 people. That's where I feel most comfortable, where I'm at. It's funny because I joke with my brother-in-law. For I think it was 8 years, we went on backpacking trips with 3 generations of my wife's family. And we'd laugh because we'd have all these topographical maps. And I was a fly fisherman, so I always looked at the rivers and streams and the valleys, and that's what I cared about. And Mark, who was a doctor, who was recreation, was hiking. He's always looking at the peaks. So he wanted to go hiking to the top. I wanted to go hiking to the bottom. And so where are you most comfortable? Where do you feel at home? When I was younger, like as I mentioned, I was a soccer player. Part of what I did to kind of get out of the house was I was in sports, and I felt an instant stress relief when I walked across the edge, the line, the sideline on a soccer field. All of a sudden, once I was on the field, even if it was a practice, for some reason, psychologically, when I crossed that line, I could put any worries about what was going on at home away, and I could focus and just simply enjoy my time on the field. And I used to laugh because I was one of those people that I loved practice. You know, a lot of people, I like the games, but I don't really I loved practice because I felt at home. And for me, that was they call it a safe place or whatever today, but the idea of simply, that's where I felt comfortable. I'm also really comfortable in water. Like I said, I was a swimmer, and did all the Red Cross stuff and all that things. So I'm really comfortable in water. Though that's another place. So maybe I'll do small groups in water. I don't know. But also, who do you follow? What's interesting to you? What are the things, you know, what ultimately, what do you want to accomplish? What's your version of success? Who do you want to help? What do you want to do for them? Those kinds of things. And these are some of the questions to kind of get you thinking. The most important question around this all is why. What is it about that thing or those people or that issue, whatever it is you're thinking about? Why is that important to you? The better you understand that, the better you're going to be able to define what's meaningful for you. So that's one part. That's one of the exercises. I encourage you to go through that and answer those questions if that seems to resonate with you. Another one, and this is, you'll obviously see that this is part of the Superpowers program, is one of the descriptions of what our purpose is, or hence what would be meaningful work for us, is sharing our gifts or our superpowers to the world in a meaningful, valuable way. That's a slightly different way to think about the same thing. So in other words, we're doing what we want, with who we want, for who we want, for what we want, accomplishing what we want. What does that really mean, though? Let's focus on the work we're doing. What is it that we're doing? What are those activities? Not the job, not the role, not the title, but what are we actually doing? What's the work that we do? What are the activities that we're doing? Do we get to leverage our strengths? With who we want. That's the team or the organization. That's the people we work with. And then who are our customers, our clients, or the recipients of our whatever it is that we do. So these are the team that we work with, we're hanging out with on a daily basis. And then, okay, we're providing all this value. Who are we doing it for? Are we saving kittens? Are we saving whales? Are we helping, parents? What is it? Who gets the value that we create? And then what is the reward, the recognitions that we get? We give our time, we give our efforts, but what do we personally get back? And then accomplishments, it goes back to that impacts that we talked about, the results, the contribution. What difference does our existence make, if you will? So that's the second one, to think through that. And again, you might want to screen capture that if you can, or take a picture. Around rewards, let's go a little deeper on that. There's two aspects to it. One is the activities that we do that we find rewarding. We just like doing this stuff. So what is it that we enjoy doing? And what rewards do we find meaningful? And those are receiving. And again, I work with companies that have recognition programs, and they're public recognition programs, and they don't realize a third of their employees would hate to be called up on the stage at the annual meeting for the company. They'll work to not win those awards because they would hate that type of reward. So what we need to get clear for us is what rewards are meaningful and valuable to us. And I would tell you, for most of us, it's simply a combination of extrinsic things like money, time, recognition, and intrinsic, the people we hang out with, the impact of our work, all those kinds of things. But you'll want to think about, what do you actually want to get for what you give? The third option I call making a statement. Here, what we do is there is a statement. And it's like we're talking to our neighbor or talking to our friend or whatever. And it's, I'm having an absolute riot, working with a fabulous group of people. I'm reading it to you, apologize for that. In an amazing environment, doing interesting, most important, not to mention the most personally and financially rewarding work of my life. Wow. Now, that really long statement is actually designed to cover the 4 key things that people care about. That's why it's so long. But the question is, can you currently say something like that about yourself, or when you get your next job? And when I say something like that, sometimes, again, people say, hey, I've been fortunate enough, I've worked out the finances, that's not the biggest concern for me. Or the environment I work in really isn't that relevant. Some people, who they work for, actually a lot of people, who they work for, the specific boss that they have, is really important. So adjust. The key is, if you would like to be able to say something about yourself, create the statement you want to work. Paint the picture that you want to be able to quote, brag about, and in this case, bragging is okay, is if you're going to define the situation you want to be in, let's define it. So how do we do that? So to make your statement, there's 4 steps. Write the exact statement that you want to be able to say, that you'd like to be able to say about yourself. I'm having so much fun, or what I'm doing is so important to the people I want, or whatever that statement is. Then what you do is take those segments, the phrase like amazing group of people, and describe what that means to you. Well, first of all, how big a group of people do you work with? Do you work with 3 people, 5 people, 1,000? Are you part of some international organization? What's the amazing group of people? And then, are they smart? Are they passionate? Are they caring? What are they? Describe what amazing people means to you in your work setting. Go through what's important, what's interesting work. Who are you helping? All that kind of stuff. Whatever those, go back to the phrase. And again, I'll go back just so you see it. What we're doing is going through all these yellow or early autumn mist, whatever color that is, phrases, and then describing, writing out what that means to us. It's the most personally rewarding. Why is it personally rewarding? What about it makes it personally rewarding? So describe those segments, bring that all together, and yes, it's going to be one hugely long statement, like half a page or something. But first, bring that all together. And then you simply shorten it by focusing on the most important aspects for you. And then you've got a statement that is your goal statement to describe the type of work that you have. Because as I say, without a clear picture, how do you possibly think you're going to find what you're looking for? It's like finding a unicorn in a herd of zebras. And you could spend all day looking for a unicorn in there because there isn't. Those are all just zebras. But the idea, again, you can't ask somebody else to try to find the job that you want and bring it to you. It's incumbent on us to go with the job that we want and be able to identify it when we see it. It's up to us to find that needle in the haystack. Oops, I guess there's my reminder. And then the 4th way is simply to say, how do you want to spend your day? Forget about titles, forget about companies, forget about all that jazz. Just, what do you want to do? What do you actually want to do? I work with so many people that go, I want to be the vice president of sales and blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? You're going to sit in conference calls and meetings and all. Is that what you want to do? And they go, oh gosh, no, that's not what I want to do. My brother's one of those guys, he loves working outside. He can't stand sitting in front of a computer. Probably even if he's playing a computer game, he can't do that. He loves being outside, spending his time. He's out talking to people. That's what he cares about. He's a project manager for a construction company, and he just absolutely loves what he does. He's a talker. He's great at what he does. He interacts with the residents. He just loves being outside, talking with people, impromptu. That's what he loves to do. So how do you want to spend your time? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What are you creating? Who are you helping? What, again, the why question is always the biggest. But forget the title, forget the, all that stuff. How do you actually want to spend your time? And if it helps, imagine you have 30 days off from everything. No responsibilities, no picking up the kids, no paying the mortgage, no any of that stuff. What would you want to do? And like I say, it's like the world has stopped. Well, the responsibilities have stopped. The world didn't stop, but you got to do whatever you wanted to do for 30 days. What would you do? And then think about 60, 90, 365. Because what naturally happens for most people is that thought process goes from pleasure to joy to meaning. And what I mean by that is some of my coaching clients, I go through a thing called the perfect exercise, but not because the exercise is perfect, because what you're doing is describing perfection. Is what's your perfect day? In as much detail as you can, describe your perfect day. And then your perfect week, your perfect month, your perfect year. And what goes on is you start out the perfect day is, we take the kids to the beach and everybody's having a wonderful time and we have so much fun and we play and we splash, and at dinner, everybody in my family says, oh, Dad, I love you because you were able to do this for us and we're so happy. And then a week of that, and like everybody's sunburned, you're getting sand in places you don't want to get sand, you miss the dog, all of a sudden you want to go home. But it's the idea of going from pleasure to joy to meaning. And meaning is, but sooner or later, if you got all the money in the world, you buy stuff, you do stuff, and then you go, okay, so now what? And then now what kind of moves into that joy, and then ultimately it's the meaning. So you can think through, how would you spend your time? Because I truly believe that everybody deserves a standing ovation for the work that we do, for what we accomplish. I truly do. But first, we have to be discovered. But it's not by the judges. We have to be discovered by us. We have to know ourselves, what we're looking for, better than anybody else, because only then can our audience, whoever our audience is, the people that we work with, we work for, who ultimately get the value of what we do, only then can they appreciate us. So finding our life's purpose comes down to the 4 different exercises, and I don't expect everybody to do them, or expect you to do all of them. You're going to kind of piece them together, honestly, is what people tend to do. But be totally comfortable that one approach is going to resonate with you more than others. But the question is, do all of them point to the same answer or not? Because when they do, or they get close to it, the idea of convergence is you really understand what you're looking for. Is it simply comes down when you pay the price to get what you want. Are you willing to now do the work to go find that? Because most people don't find their life's purpose, if you want to think about it that way, only because they never take action to find it. They don't believe, they think the needle in the haystack is impossible to find, so they don't even do it. So I encourage you now, because I say you're at the best time and place, because you don't, if you're somebody who's unemployed right now, you don't have work. You don't have somewhere you have to be 8, 9 hours a day. So take the time to think through it, but then do the work to find out. I love this quote, or this concept from Jim Rohn, that talks about the law of diminishing intent. It's the longer we wait to do something we know we should do, the greater the odds we'll never do it. It's the idea. So many people talk about they wish they had a better job. They wish they had a great job. They wish they made a bigger impact, or they enjoy it, or, fill in the blank on all the stuff we've been talking about for so long, but they don't do it. It's for some time in the future, where the time is now. And the key, and there's great people to help you, like Tom and Harry and their whole team, but they can't do this work for you. You've got to do the thinking. You've got to answer these questions or come up with other exercises that don't run you through. But you got to do the thinking, and then you've got to take the action. Nobody can do it for you. So what are you doing? You're going out, you're talking to the people that are accomplishing what you want to accomplish, or the teams that are made up of the people that you want to work with, that are doing the things you want to do, serving the clients you want to serve, providing the value that you want. Get out there and talk to them. Or the people that want, need, and desire what you want to do. Some people want to be, I would turn into independent consultant or whatever you want to call that, advisor and whatever. I needed to find the people that wanted and needed what I could do for them. But get out and talk, interact with people, do these things, but take action to move forward. Don't just hang around wishing, thinking, again, telling people what you don't want. It's all about answering those questions, going through that exercises and getting very clear on what you want. And that's really the end. That's the wrap. I probably should have a summary, but I think I already did in there somewhere. So I don't know, Tom, I don't actually know at this point if it opens up for questions or comments or where we go from here. I say, well, I was pretty good on time since I forgot to actually look. I kind of laughed because I was going to track my time, but then I never timed it, so I didn't know if I'd be doing good on time or not. So,
well, there were a couple of. There was one question, Dale, that somebody wanted to know: is there a difference between the Clifton strengths versus what you're talking about? And I think that was quite a long time ago. That was like around 7:30. But you just never took a breath, so I could jump in and ask you that.
I'm sorry. Finish it.
If you could just summarize why that, how much different what you're talking about is.
Yeah, there's actually, and I get a little adamant and maybe over the top about this, but yeah, I mean, I didn't work for Gallup, but I worked with them. I was actually one of the persons they were researching when they came up with all their Q12 employee engagement stuff and their strength-based stuff. So knew a lot about it. I was a practitioner in the field. The key difference, Strength Finder identifies your personality, your style. I love Strength Finder as a personality assessment. I use it almost all the time when I do work with people on that. But that's your style. That's your personality. That's one of the 3 pieces that create a strength. So there's your personality, then there's knowledge, and that's what you know. And then there's skill, that's what you know how to do or what you can do. So a strength is made up of your personality plus knowledge plus skill. Now, the important thing about personality is basically the simplest way to think about it, that's hardwired. That's who you are, but that's how you do what you do. Your knowledge and skill is how well you do it. So for example, I teach leadership and coach on leadership and all that kind of stuff. I add knowledge and skill for people. I don't even attempt to change their style. I help them develop a strength, and I can help any personality that's willing to learn and has character to be a really strong leader. Now, they're going to do it their own way based on their personality. But that's when we talked, and I know I kind of touched on it, but didn't really do it justice, the idea of the whole superpowers thing or building your potential, is I claim I can help anybody develop pretty much any strength they want, quote, within reason. I mean, that's like a disclaimer. But by saying, hey, what's the specific knowledge and skill you need to add to your personality? Your personality, learning how to do that strength your way is what makes you unique. And that's how we can identify a job and say, this is the job you need to hire me for, because I'm the only one that can do it the way I can do it. So Strength Finder helps you identify your style, but your knowledge and skill tells you how good you will be at something. I hope that helped, because otherwise I'll talk for half an hour.
Yeah, that was a good attempt. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Where's the price of admission, huh?
Yes. There doesn't seem to be any additional questions at this time.
Okay.
We are running a little late on ending, but if I don't see anything else, we really appreciate your time tonight, Dale, and we really did get a lot of value out of what you were presenting. I mean, there was a lot of great concepts there and a lot of ideas that people can put to action, and if they choose to do so, and hopefully they choose to do so because the work that they do in that will be very valuable to them, and I know from personal experience it will be. So it is worth their while to go ahead and make that effort. So
Oh, and the other
again,
thing,
thank you for
I'm sorry for interrupting. One of the things I forgot to say is, hey, if people want to connect with me out on LinkedIn, please do. You can find me. I kind of look like this guy. And I'm happy to connect. Please just let me know that you're connecting or asking you to connect through the Crossroads group, that's where you heard about me from, or whatever, however the right way to say that is. And I'm happy to help out however I can, but just let me know that this is where you heard about me so I can be most helpful to you.
And Dale, a lot of thank yous coming in the chat area for what you did tonight, and they all appreciate
Thank you that
it.
I'm done. I get it.
Yes. Okay. And off you go. So
take care, everybody.
Hey, put your cape on and fly out of here.
There you go.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so for everyone who wants to learn a little bit more about Crossroads, I'm going to do a quick overview of what Crossroads is. And I'm sharing my screen right now. And let's put that on. Okay, so welcome to Crossroads. For signing up, you will, if you're signing up for the first time, and this is your first time, you will receive a gift in the mail if you provided the information to get it to you. How Long, Oh Lord, How Long? It's a great devotional book. It's really valuable to those who are unemployed and in transition, and I highly recommend it as a great way to start your day, or end your day for that matter. Great devotionals there. So MN Crossroads is our website.com, and you'll find a lot of valuable information at that website. You probably already know about it because you probably had to sign up for this webinar on that website. But check out some of the things about we have a job board. We have a lot of other assessments and tools out there, and I'm going to talk about a few more things that are on there, but it is a valuable resource to you in transition. I highly recommend. I say that a lot. I highly recommend you go out there and check that out. When we're up and running, we have 3 sites of Crossroads, one in Eden Prairie at Grace Church, one in Woodbury at Woodbury Lutheran Church, and one in Arden Hills at North Heights Lutheran Church. We meet now the first Thursday of the month from 7:30 to 9 at Grace Church. So you can check that out on the website, get the exact time and what the presentation is each month. But that's right now, that's where we are meeting in person. Weekly opportunities through Crossroads. We have Networking with Grace, which is one of our valuable tools. We have the 2 Wes's, Wes Roper and Wes Tang, who run that group. It's online. It's every Thursday morning. You can sign up on the website and interact with in that class. You'll get a lot of valuable information about networking, who to network with, maybe get a few tips, and maybe some connections. So check that out. It's every Thursday morning online. One-on-one coaching. Dale talked about a lot of the things that we can help with, and our coaches are all skilled at a lot of different things. So if you need help in interviewing, preparing a resume, maybe going through some of the questions that you're having difficulty with and finding your real superpowers, or what you really want to focus your attention on so you can be happy and enjoy your job in a way that's very meaningful. One-on-one coaching. Sign up online at mncrossroads.com. Transition can be very stressful, and sometimes we need a little extra help. And when we're feeling down, or we got a great opportunity and we could use just a little extra boost. Sometimes a little extra prayer will help. And we have a whole team that is dedicated to that effort of praying and some soul care and really helping you through the process of transition. So look towards that on the website. You can sign up, and you will feel the power of prayer as those folks pray hard on your case. Online classes. We're participating in one of our seminars tonight. It's one of our more valuable tools, but one of the most valuable tools that we have at Crossroads is the online seminar, our small group classes. Our online seminar is what you're participating in. They're 8-week classes. They're devoted to 8 different sections. One might be attitude, assessments, networking, targeting companies. You can read them all there. A lot of valuable things that we cover in each of these, one of these 8 sessions. One of the things that you will get out of it in a lot of cases is a little weekly accountability, focusing on the things that you should be doing on a day-to-day basis and getting help from others that you might meet in these small groups. Encouragement. In transition, we need a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of ups and downs, and encouragement can be very helpful to you. Moral support. We all need moral support day in, day out. So the small group classes are really the meat and potatoes of Crossroads. They really are the building blocks for what we deliver. And these sessions are something you're interested in. There's one monthly. There's one going on right now that started on September 11th. But check it out on the website and sign up and take part in one of these valuable classes. You'll find it life-changing. We have a MN Crossroads LinkedIn group. All you have to do is type MN Crossroads Career Network in the search bar on LinkedIn, and the group will pop up. You can ask to join. Why would you want to join? Well, there are over 2,500 members that have gone through transition, know about transition, are willing to help in a lot of ways. You'll find it a valuable resource to you in transition. So check it out. You can find it on LinkedIn, like I said, by typing MN Crossroads Career Network in the search bar. Dale talked about it. It's available to you. All our presentations, all our seminars are online, or virtually all of them, through YouTube, our YouTube channel. Again, type in the search bar MN Crossroads Career Network, and you'll land on the spot that's necessary, and you'll see a lot of seminars that you can watch, and including other ones by Dale, one here by George Murphy. There's one here by Dave Agee. That is excellent. There's many excellent seminars out there. I encourage you to go out there, do a little research, find those seminars that you want to see, again, if you have already seen them, or for the first time, and learn a lot about what you can do to be successful in transition. Additional resources. We have been very fortunate at Crossroads to have a real partner that helps us financially, and a lot of considerations for a lot of the programs that we do and things we offer. And they are also offering a seminar series, 3-part seminar series on a monthly basis on financial considerations during job search. From budgeting to how to treat your 401k to a number of different things. So again, another resource free of charge through Crossroads that you can sign up for. Check it out. It's on the website. We do a lot to help people for, like I've said all along tonight, for little or no cost, or no cost at all. And we can only do that by the valuable network volunteers that we have. Here's just a cross section of some of them. These people have dedicated themselves to Crossroads and helping people who are in transition. I can't thank them enough. They're what makes Crossroads and what we do successful. We appreciate the volunteers, and you will appreciate them also when you interact with them. And if you're looking for a church home, you can either in person or streaming online, woodburylutheran.org, northheights.church. Grace Church is one of 3 of our locations, all valuable, all willing to help and be your church home. So something to consider. Let me just say that we have a seminar coming up next Thursday morning, September the 21st. It starts at 7:30. It runs till 9. It's The Future of Fractional, presented by John Arms. John Arms is an excellent resource as it relates to fractional employment, and it's something that you don't want to miss. So sign up for that on the website. Again, Networking with Grace is available every Thursday morning, or every first Thursday of every. Sign up on the website. We also have the seminars, the 8-week courses that you can sign up for. That's on the website, so check all of that out. And thank you for being with us tonight. We sure do appreciate it. You know, I wish you a productive search during the following week. And if you're able to land employment, congratulations. We sure do wish you the best. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night.